We can't tell you how frustrating it was for us to upload our podcast when we first got started. The websites were clunky, we had data limits, and it was all so confusing. That is, until we found Zencastr. Zencastr is an online platform built for podcasters to not only upload their podcasts, track their listeners, connect their audience, and so much more. Zencastr plans have no upload or download limits, so your cost won't grow as you do. Embed their player that automatically updates to show the latest episode of your show. Zencastr lets you see your podcast downloads along with your traffic, website, and Google Analytics. Zencastr also supports multiple podcasts under one account. The best part is, if you already have a podcast on another platform, you can switch to Zencastr with a one-click importer, all free of charge. So what are you waiting for? Head over to howtomakeapodcast.co/Zencastr to start saving time and money with your podcast today. Hello and welcome to How to Make a Podcast. My name is Nick Miller and I am joined by my co-host. We're matchy today. John, how you doing? How you doing, buddy?
I'm great. Great response last week to Carrie Egler's episode all about lead magnets. Our Facebook group is growing. It's good. I can't complain about anything in the entire world right now. I know a lot's going on, but yeah, my attitude is really positive. Things are going really well. Really excited about the growth of this group and the feedback just from all the people. Like, it's really great to get all these messages, people saying this is the best group for podcasting. It's such a judge-free zone. So thanks everybody, but I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. As I said, I think this might have been on our other podcast, but I am on a journey to be in the best shape of my life by the time I turn 40. And I am starting on week 4 of my fitness journey this week, and things are going well. My trainer is very happy with the progress that I'm making. So, yeah, buddy. Anyway, it's good. It's good. I'm doing well. I'm doing really well. But last week we had Carrie Egler on the podcast, and Carrie is the guy behind all of our Facebook ads, our course launches, our lead magnets, all of that kind of stuff. And he just kind of stepped in and talked through what an actual lead magnet is, how to set one up, and with the coinciding with his episode. Yeah, there we go. We launched the podcast magnet, which you can pick up in our shop right now today. Carrie breaks down exactly how you set up a lead magnet, how you set up ads in Facebook. And then we also include the PSD, the Photoshop file of the lead magnet that we used for the last one as kind of a template so that you can use that for your own if you want to go forward with that. But we had him on and he kind of broke down what a lead magnet was. Basically, the definition of a lead magnet is a piece of content that adds value to your potential customer. And then what you get in exchange for giving them this valuable content is an email address. And he kind of broke down all of that last week. It was a really solid episode. John, what do you have to say about what Carrie brought last week?
We, in our podcast, did not start doing lead magnets. And I started watching him in his course. He has Shirt School, and he also teaches people how to make challenges and different things like that. But just watching and seeing him put lead magnets out, and no offense to his graphic ability or his design ability, but nothing super special about the ads, the way they looked, but the way that he wrote them, the way that, it caught your attention in a way where it's like, I want to know more and stuff like that. I just watched him grow this thing. I knew whenever he used to work at a cell phone company and was making, decent money doing that. But now just seeing his life and getting to see the behind the scenes, the dude is legit, and he's legitimately changed his family tree. And so, having him on and kind of breaking down what lead magnets are, and all that good stuff, it just reiterated to me that, like, if I only would have known when we got going with How to Film Weddings, our initial podcast about lead magnets, we would be light years ahead of where we are today. And so about a year and 3 months in is when we really started putting out lead magnets for that podcast, and we had built so much organic growth at that point, which is really great. But we could have gotten there way quicker. And so, for me, when looking at our numbers, I'm the numbers guy behind our podcast. I was looking this up, and right now, Nick, we have over 11,000 emails in our combined lists. And in this year alone, those email addresses have accounted for $250,000. And that's like, wait a sec. It's August, September, and we've already generated that much. And we just started How to Make a Podcast in it's already generated tens of thousands of dollars. And it comes back down to these lead magnets. And, this is a podcast teaching people how to make a podcast. And what it really comes down to is your podcast needs to be great, but without connecting with the right leads and getting the right people to listen to your podcast, it's just going to end up being a hobby. And that's okay if that's what you want. But one of the core pillars of what we want to teach people here is how to make money doing this and how to do it in a way that could change your life and your family tree. Our lives look different than they did 2 years ago when we were really getting going with our first podcast. And in that amount of time, we've now generated each of us six-figure incomes this year and then some. And it's only growing and it's only getting better and it compounds on top of itself. I was in this world for so long where, I'd film weddings, and you film a wedding, and if you don't know, you get paid to film that wedding, and then it's over, and hopefully you don't work with that client again unless they've gotten divorced, and you don't really want to try to really push the repeat business with that. And so it's kind of this cycle of, and you may be out there listening, and it's the same thing with you and your job, but it's like, I go out, I kill something, I bring it home, we eat it, I've got to go out and kill something and eat it. It's just this cycle of I have to continue. And with these podcasts and with these email lists, what happens is you can make something once, like a podcast episode or a digital template, and then over the years, that we've been doing this, every single day we're selling things based on those email lists, and we're making money off of something we created a year ago or 2 years ago. And so this all, works together, and the lead magnet subject is so important that we wanted to focus an entire episode ourselves on it as well. More so along the lines, Nick, of crafting one that's kind of the perfect one for you and your podcasts.
Yeah. We're really gonna get into, that, but you might be sitting there, thinking today, and we've covered so much about email addresses and why we need those and why you should have those. We spent 3 or 4 of these episodes, specifically talking about email addresses and growing your list and stuff. But the lead magnet, right, is something that you can create, and you get an email address. So you're giving away this free piece of content. But John and I did a sale in our How to Film Weddings shop a couple weeks ago, and we did a 30% off sale of this $50 product. So with 25% off of this $50 product was like $37 or something. In 1 week, we did over $2,000 worth of sales on this $37 product because of our email list that we had grown. And partly that we were able to grow it so big was because of, the lead magnets we were doing, and we were getting people into our system. Yes, we have quality content, and yes, the stuff that we are giving out, that we are selling, is quality, but and one of the ways that we get that is having a quality lead magnet. So today's episode is all about crafting the perfect lead magnet. Again, if you want to learn more about this and have a walkthrough training, I don't know if any of you have ever sat down and tried to open up the Facebook Ads Account Manager. Okay, it's my thought is, whenever I look at it, is I say, this is an accountant's dream. Okay, to look at a web page like that. It's just a bunch of lines. It kind of looks like an Excel spreadsheet. There's just lots of information. You have your ad, and then you have how much you're generating, how much it's costing, how much it leads, like all of this stuff on there. And it's very, very overwhelming if you have no clue what you're doing. Okay, this lead magnet, that Carrie has put together, the podcast magnet, that's what it's called, has put together. He walks you through this whole thing. So if you have no clue about Facebook ads. It is a great place to start, and it will get you well on your way. John and I wish that we would have had something like this whenever we started looking into ads and that stuff. So that is the podcast magnet. You can pick that up over at howtomakeapodcast.co/shop. It's right there on the front page. You can pick that up, learn more about it there. So in today's episode, bringing it back, we're going to talk about crafting your perfect lead magnet. What are the things that you should include in it? What should it look like? Who should you go after? All of that kind of stuff. So we will talk about that right after this break.
If you have a pulse, you probably hate the subject of taxes and running the bookkeeping portion of your business. But like it or not, if you want to be a successful podcaster, you are going to have to pay attention to your numbers. But don't worry, we have the answer for you, Core Financial. Our friends over at Core Financial have taken the pressure off of us so we can focus on what we love doing most, running our podcast. They take care of all of our taxes, monthly bookkeeping, financial plans, and make sure we take full advantage of all of the tax benefits we qualify for. It just feels good knowing we aren't going to get a big surprise during tax season. If you are serious about building a business with your podcast, head on over to howtomakeapodcast.co/core to see what they can do for you.
So you've got everything you need for your podcast. You've recorded your audio and video. You're so excited, but wait, you don't know how to master the audio or edit the video of your podcast. We know someone who can help. The podcast editors. Picture this. You record both audio and video for your podcast. You upload it to your remote editor, and a few days later, your podcast is ready for you to upload and push to the world. What will you do with your extra time? Connect with sponsors? Grow your Facebook group? Start that project or even course you have dreamed of for months? The possibilities are endless. We are blown away by the podcast editors and love working with them and using their services. They can edit audio, video, or both for your podcast. Don't get stuck trying to do this on your own. Get in touch with the podcast editors today. If you'd like to save 50% off of your first project, head over to howtomakeapodcast.co/thepodcasteditors. And welcome back from break. We are going to jump into our question of the day presented by the podcast editors. If you are getting sick and tired of editing your own podcast, if it's taking up too much time, if you're just bogged down with all the editing that you need to do, reach out to the podcast editors. They will definitely hook you up and help you out. That's howtomakeapodcast.co/thepodasteditors. And our question of the day is this, John. How do I know who to advertise to?
Love this question, and I love the podcast editors, so I'm in a happy mood. So knowing your perfect audience, we're crafting the perfect lead magnet, it's not something that you can just define immediately. It takes a little bit of time, but there's some reverse engineering that you can do to get yourself kind of ready for it. So with our podcast, How to Make a Podcast, we knew, and we started by trying to know our avatar, know our ideal listener, and started writing down characteristics. They're entrepreneurial, they want to run a podcast or might already run a podcast. They're probably fans of other entrepreneurs or other podcasters. We started just really thinking about those kinds of things and made more of a list of like, they're probably not under the age of 18. They're probably, male and female. They're probably mainly in the United States or Canada or Europe. We start thinking of different things like that. And that is how you can start to define the perfect audience. And so who do you advertise to? How do I know who to advertise to? You're reverse engineering it. That's the answer to the question, is like who ultimately do you want to be your listener? And that's how you define who you're going to advertise to. And on Facebook specifically, we push right now Facebook and Instagram ads. We're big fans of that. We're big fans of other social media platform ads. But it's the same difference for each, different platform. But we went in with our podcast and our lead magnet, and we defined, first of all, we want people that are interested in podcasting. Like, that was pretty obvious to us. People that are interested in podcasting, and the way that Carrie set up for us and shows you in the podcast magnet, you can set up a custom audience to say, okay, we're gonna narrow down the 7.4 billion people on Earth to people that live in the United States, that are between 18 and 75 year old. They're male and female. they're interested in podcasting, and that would get you like an audience in America, 400 million people that like podcasting. Okay, now that's down to like 12 million people or something. It's like still big. And so you start to kind of fine tune, like get it basically whittled down at that point. And you say, okay, they like podcasting, but I really want them to also, you can say, I want them to like podcasting and also show interest in entrepreneurship. Okay, that narrowed it down to like 7 million people. And then we said, okay, and we want them to like podcasting, entrepreneurship, and they're a fan of Jenna Kutcher or Gary Vaynerchuk or Amy Porterfield. And that whittled it down to somewhere around 1 to 2 million people. And if you signed up for our ad, it is because we targeted you. And over time, once the ad gets going and is alive, you can see which audiences get the most interaction. And for us, I think it was Amy Porterfield. That audience really gave us the best bang for our buck. So we started pouring more money into that advertisement and pulling back money from other advertisements. And as Nick was saying, it's kind of like the accountant's dream with the spreadsheets and stuff. I don't really love spreadsheets, but once I kind of understood the language, it's easy for me now to go in and say, oh, we're getting people to download our freebie for $1.23 on this one, but it's $7 for this ad. So I can go in and turn off an ad. And so like you're constantly going in there and kind of fine tuning it. But, I know I've been talking for a long time, but who do you know how to advertise to? You start somewhere and then you start to really whittle that down and see where you're getting the best bang for your buck. And you may have to create a few ads. And I said this in, I think, a previous podcast, but you got to set some kind of a budget, $50 a month, $100 a month, something, $20 a month, $3 a day, whatever. I think we are somewhere around $75 a day at this point for our podcast. But setting a budget and knowing for probably 90 days, it's more of a test phase. And you're like, it is investing into your podcast to just know more. It might be faster than that. We haven't even, I think, at this point been advertising for a little over 90 days, but we knew some data pretty quickly, and you'll be able to fine tune that really quickly. Nick, what do you have to add to that? I talked a lot.
No, it was all really, really solid information, really good info. The one thing that I think when it comes to Facebook ads is that just like anything, you're not going to nail it on the first try. You're not going to understand how it works the very first try. And I think that's how a lot of people, if they've ever messed with Facebook ads, they click the boost this post on their Facebook page and they realize I didn't get any more leads. I didn't get anything or whatever. And so you're like, Facebook ads don't work. They're crap. Okay. There is a reason why you see Facebook ads like every third post on your homepage whenever you're scrolling through. There's a reason that like every fifth Instagram story that you look at is an ad. It's because they work. So you have to do your homework and you have to dig in and you have to understand what it is, which can take some time. It's going to take some research. Again, Carrie's resource, the Podcast Magnet, will help you with that. But knowing your audience and figuring out your avatar and who to advertise to and setting up the money, like that's only part of the equation. Right? The other part of that is your actual lead magnet. Okay. Now, I have a little case study here. The first thing, it needs to be attention grabbing, your lead magnet and the ad that you put together, but the thing that they download. So we have been putting together one for a workshop that we're doing with How to Film Weddings. And the idea was 5 ways to make $500 more per wedding. Like that was the idea behind it. Okay. But as we were talking about, and that's actually a lead magnet where people are downloading it and getting that, and it's doing fairly well. But as we're setting up this workshop and we're doing the same topic, but we shifted the wording from 5 ways to make $500 more per wedding to how to make more money per wedding without raising your prices. Okay. And like psychologically, that second one sounds way cooler than 5 ways to make $500 more, how to make more money without actually raising your prices. Like that kind of doesn't make sense Like you need some explanation so it gets people interested in it. So as you're thinking about the thing that you want to be your lead magnet, the ad that you are making, make it catchy. Make it something that it makes people want to click on. Okay, what is maybe a vague way or an exciting way or a funny way or something that can get people interested in that thing that you want to make and create and click and actually download? Okay, so with that, it's attention grabbing and it has a pretty clear objective. Okay, ways to make more money without raising your price. So we're telling you what it is, and it's easy for people to understand what they're going to get whenever they download this thing. Now, if you're too confusing, people are going to skip over it because if it's too complex, if it's too confusing, if it's too wordy, if it's too whatever, okay, people are going to miss the point on that. John, do you have anything? I know that the wording of stuff, you're really good at that. You excel at that. Any thoughts on that?
I'm just thinking, first of all, thank you. I'm thinking about, different people's podcasts out there. I know that there are people that have podcasts, aimed just directly to men or married couples or real estate agents. The characteristics of a good lead magnet are going to, like Nick is saying, have an attention-grabbing aspect to them. You got to put yourself in the shoes of somebody scrolling through their phone in line at Starbucks or at a stoplight. This is where people are being served up your ad. If it's not a very clear objective where they can be attracted or repelled from the ad, like somebody that is not interested in wedding filmmaking that somehow gets this ad is going to be like, I don't care, and swipe right by. But the people that care are going to click it. And it's like the graphic has to match up. So the clear objective, attention grabbing, an attractive graphic is kind of the next thing. And that's something that is hard to put into words, but it's like, is it make you want to click? Does it make you is it attract your ideal client? Some people's ads make my skin crawl because they feel like just skeezy salesmen that are trying to sell something that's gross, but it's got to work for somebody. Because I keep seeing them until I click hide these ads. I don't want to see these ads because those people are trying to attract a different kind of person than I'm trying to attract. And so for us with our podcasting ads or how to film weddings ads, it's our faces and it's us with microphones and we don't look super serious or we're not trying to look really cool. We're just trying to be relatable guys because that's who we want to relate to as people that find us relatable. That's hard to say. But the graphic, the next part about that is it's an attractive graphic. And Nick is the one that does the graphics. And so, Nick, what are you thinking of whenever you're putting together a graphic? What do you see people do wrong? What are you looking for with your graphics?
The thing that I would recommend is if you are tying your lead magnet to your podcast, your lead magnet should look and feel like the cover art, the website, whatever you have already put together for your podcast. Now, if you're going in, for instance, with this, we have How to Make a Podcast, but we also have the podcast blueprint, which falls under the umbrella of How to Make a Podcast, right? So whenever we're running ads for podcast blueprint, we put something, at least on the landing page, about how to make a podcast or, a product of how to make a podcast or something like that so that people might see and realize this is a part but different. Okay. So I think that the biggest mistake that people make is they put something out there that looks totally different. It feels totally different. The colors are off. The fonts are different. It's 100% different. And then it kind of confuses the people that are listening, that want that information from you. Okay. If your main colors are, let's say, orange and blue, but then you make this ad and everything is green and brown, like those two things don't fit together unless you let them know, that this other thing is a part of my main podcast. So attractive graphic, I would say the biggest thing is making it a cohesive brand with the stuff that you have already put together.
Yeah. So in recapping a couple of these points of the characteristics, number one, it's attention grabbing. Number 2, you've set a clear objective, making it easy to understand what you get. And then the next thing, number 3, is an attractive graphic. 4th up on our list, Nick, is copy that entices the end user to want to know more. The way that you write your copy, this is the text that shows up next to your ad, above your ad, below your ad, wherever, depending on your platform. For our How to Make a Podcast ad, we made it feel like we were talking to you. And I think it said, do you want to know how we've been able to create great income podcasting? Check out the, we write it in such a way that was enticing, but we didn't give them the answers. We made it very clear. It was attention grabbing. There was a clear objective. The graphic was attractive. And then when they click to read it, it tells them what they're going to click, or what they're going to get if they click. You're going to get a downloadable PDF that teaches you and shows you 5 ways to make money podcasting. And there's that again, it all is attracting or repelling people. And even within the podcasting world, people that like podcasting might be appalled by the fact that we're trying to teach you how to make money doing it. And so, that copy is going to entice somebody to want to download it or not.
Yeah. One thing that, as we were talking to Carrie and we're creating our own ads and like that kind of stuff, he's like, there's a really good formula for a good like Facebook ad. So first is going to be your hook. Like what's that thing that really gets into them and really pulls people in, right? For how to film weddings, how to make more money per wedding without raising your prices. Okay, that's a hook. Most people that are in the industry, they're like, oh, I want to learn how to do that. Then you go into the story. So then you kind of set it up like, we've been there, overworked, haven't made the money that we wanted to make, hitting our heads against the wall, trying to make more money, but we just didn't know where to start. And then you kind of go into the offer phase, go into the call to action phase where you tell them this stuff and he's like, would you like to learn the process that we have put together, that we have learned and implemented in your business? If you'd like this, click this link below. So you have the hook, you have the story, and then at the bottom of that story, then you have it so ask them to do something. And that's a great little formula that can entice the end user, the people that you are trying to reach, to click the little 3 dots on that ad so that it opens up so that they read more information. And then as they're going through that and they're reading these things and they're seeing the picture, all of it comes together. The purpose is to attract the right customer and repel the wrong one. Okay. On our ads that we have put out for Podcast Blueprint and all this stuff, we get I wouldn't say a lot, but we get a fair amount of hate mail, if you want to think of it that way, where there are trolls, people saying, oh, there's no way you can do this. This isn't real. You're okay. And we know right off the bat that whenever someone says that, you're not our customer. You're not the person that we want to work with. And John and I kind of view it as something that's a little funny. Like John actually is really funny about going in and kind of responding to the trolls and making himself look silly and, whatever, because we know that we're not going to get their sale. So why spend the time wasting our effort and our energy on like trying to convince them? Then why don't we just joke around with them and kind of acknowledge it for what it is?
And on some of these people, they will say something like, best way to make money podcasting is sell courses, not actually podcast. Like they're given a hard time because they've seen people rip other people off. And we get that. And so we'll usually respond. Like we don't recommend if people troll you to like respond too much, but I like to be goofy, like Nick is saying in the comments of like, yeah, like I'll comment and say, yeah, those guys seem like a joke. I would never trust them or something. Like I'll make comments, and then people that are the ideal customer, they'll read through some of those answers or those things. They see somebody write something and then they'll see my comment and they will laugh at it and be like, oh, that's the guy behind the podcast making a joke about it because that guy's obviously a troll. I like them. I'm going to download their thing. And so that's why I do that. And so all of that to be said, we really could talk a lot about a lot of episodes about lead magnets. But, in kind of a recapping form, you've got to define your perfect audience first. You've got to know your avatar. You can reverse engineer by showing ads to audiences that follow big names or pages in your industry like we did. You set up the ads, you monitor them, you make adjustment and pour more money into ads that are getting you the best results. That's the defining the perfect audience. And then the characteristics of a good lead magnet: attention grabbing, clear objective, attractive graphic, copy that entices and attracts the right customer. Those are the main bullet points, takeaways we want you to take away from this. And if you want to leave in the comments, or if you want to jump into our Facebook group and show off your lead magnet, get feedback, that is exactly what that group is for. We'll probably create a thread sooner or later once we get enough people doing lead magnets for you guys to really show your lead magnet, get feedback. But the idea behind this whole episode is, when we pull back and we think about it, How to Film Weddings is thriving. How to Make a Podcast is thriving. And as we talked in the previous episodes, it's like you can go organic, slow, steady build, which we recommend doing, or you can pour a little gas on the fire with some of these ads. And why not do both? And that's what we're doing with How to Make a Podcast. We're growing every day with new people that are sharing and growing organically. And our episodes, people are telling us, are amazing. And then also we're just bringing in 30 to 50 new people a day into our email list. So, every episode that we announce becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the sponsors come in, and it all works together for the impact that we want to have. Because we already have heard stories of people like Ryan Coral, who is making $15,000 over the next 3 months because of the way that he learned how to do a press kit. If we can show you how to do that, we feel like our purpose is being fulfilled.
Yeah, definitely. So this is all really great information. Come back and listen to it again if you're wanting to really craft and hone in and figure out a lead magnet and what it is. John, I like that idea about doing a thread. Maybe we can do that this week. Share your lead magnet, give feedback on it, on the wording, the design, all of that kind of stuff. We'll do that sometime in our Facebook group this week. So anyways, again, we want to let you know about the podcast magnet. All you need to do is head over to howtomakeapodcast.co/shop. And there in the shop, you can pick up the podcast magnet. Again, Carrie breaks down how to actually set up the ads and what you should be thinking about in a lead page, like all of it. It's close to an hour worth of content for you to just digest and learn so that you can create these perfect podcast magnets. John, it has been great talking with you again today. And until next time, we will see you.
See you guys.